Thank you for joining us. We'll just give it one more minute and then maybe we'll kick off.
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Okay, should we start and then we can just wait for a few more people to come in as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So welcome everybody to our webinar this evening. So this is co-hosted with Face the Future and the NOA team as well. So everyone will be introducing themselves so that you can get to know everybody in the teams. And this is all about why your skincare routine might be missing something. And it's a really exciting topic and one that I think we don't speak about that much in terms of the relationship between our skin and the products that we use on our skin and the relationship between what we put inside our body and what's going on inside our body. So it's really that connection between the inside and the outside. So we're really excited to bring this to life for everyone this evening. So just to say that the meeting is being recorded. And you can ask questions in the chat as we go and we'll pick them up. But at the end, there is a specific Q&A section. So you can ask those questions out loud at the end, or you can put them in the chat and we can read them out. So whatever you feel comfortable with. So the session is 45 minutes, so it will finish at 7:45. So we will make sure there's enough time for the Q&A at the end. So I'll be keeping track. And just to say that this is general educational content rather than any personal medical advice. And so what we're going to cover today, we've got lots of content for you. So I'm going to be handing over to Megan and Julia, who will be presenting the bulk of this webinar this evening. I actually forgot to introduce myself. So I'm Katie and I'm the founder of Now, Often, Always. And the first chapter that we're going to be discussing is your skin in relation to your nutrition and your hormones. Then we're going to look into nutrient deficiencies. We're going to go through stress, sleep, and how that can affect your skin. And then really how important it is to build a routine from the inside out and really what that looks like in practice. And then we have a live Q&A at the end with Megan and Julia where you can ask all of your questions. So I'm going to hand over to Megan and Julia to introduce themselves.
Brilliant. Do you want to go first, Megan?
You don't mind? I'll go first.
Of course not.
I'm Megan. I'm head of nutrition here at NOA. I am a nutritional therapist, 3-time cookbook author. I love food. I love healthy food. I specialize in women's health, hormone health, and my job at NOA is to create personalized protocols based on your bloods, health history, symptoms. And I personally came into this line of work because I had a lot of my own struggles, my own health struggles growing up. I was diagnosed with PCOS, now PMOS, and I struggled with symptoms like acne and hair loss for as long as I could remember. So I'm super passionate on the subject and using nutrition as a supportive tool.
And hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Julia and I'm the director of Face the Future. So unlike Megan, before I actually bought Face the Future, I spent my career as a HR director. So absolutely no skincare knowledge whatsoever. However, what I did have was a genuine passion for skincare. And I was always that person that was trying different routines that you'd see going up the skincare aisles, looking for products, and really trying to find out why one product worked for me when another didn't. And of course, I've always loved a treatment. So actually, when the opportunity came to buy Face the Future, I actually thought it was a perfect chance for me to build a business around something I was genuinely passionate about. Since joining Face the Future, I've learned a huge amount. I work with dermatologists, I work with clinicians, I work with brands, and I work with skin experts. But I am certainly not an expert in skincare. One of the things that I have learned, and I do know though, is there's so much misinformation and conflicting information out there. So for me, it's all about education. It's all about expert advice and guidance, and really helping customers and people in general really understand the why behind the skin, rather than letting them buy trends or products that they've seen on social media promising miracle solutions that don't really happen.
Thank you. So we wanted to get a bit of an understanding and a bit of an idea about what it was that was your biggest skincare concern at the moment, just so that we can make sure as we are presenting, we have a good understanding about why everyone has decided to attend tonight. So if you could scan the QR code, it should take you to a live poll where you can input what it is that you might be struggling with. So there are 5 different categories. So breakouts and congestion, dryness and dehydration, dullness and even tone, fine lines and aging, or you can press other if you feel any of your concerns don't fall into those. So if you can select one of those, and then we can just have a good idea about what everyone's here. So whilst everyone's presenting, I'll gather those results. So moving on to Julia.
Yeah, so I suppose just to give you a little bit of background here about Face the Future, and you can see from the actual screen there, we actually started as what we call an advanced skincare clinic. And every recommendation that we make today is still based upon those clinical foundations. So we work with professional brands, and actually we work with the brands that we trust and we know that actually will make a difference to people's skincare. You can see there as well that I've said we've actually extended our remit, originally skincare clinic, and now we've moved into hair care and well-being as well. And I guess that brings us also to the point in relation to why we're partnering with NOA, because actually looking at yourself from the outside and only the outside isn't going to be the right solution. It's more than what's just happening on the surface. So we need to be making sure we're looking beyond what we're just putting on our face. Talked about the education first approach there. So as I've said, we're incredibly passionate about making sure that people understand what it is that they're putting on their skin and the other factors that influence healthy skin. So whether it's things like this evening, whether it's blogs, whether it's podcasts, we're always out there trying to give people the confidence to make the right decisions about their skincare. And that's because actually there isn't one perfect solution for every single person. Our skins are really unique to ourselves, and therefore we do believe in that personalized professional approach. Getting the right skincare advice from an expert means that actually you'll be able to achieve the skin perfections that you want, and that actually in the long run you're saving money because you're not wasting money on products that actually don't work for you. So we're all about that right first time advice, and actually it's one of our pillars. It's about advice right first time, and then also about advice for life, because we want to take you on your skincare journey, because of course our skin changes with the seasons, it changes as we go through different periods in our life. And I know Megan's going to talk about hormones later on as well. Hormones have a huge impact on our skin, so it's about making sure we're tailoring the advice and guidance that we give you so that you actually can feel really confident in your skin.
Thank you. And just to introduce NOA, in case anybody doesn't know who we are or who have come across us so far, we've recently partnered with Face the Future, which is really exciting. And I created Now Often Always because I found it really difficult to try and understand exactly what was going on inside my body. And when I went to go and look for help, I was constantly dismissed and just felt really overwhelmed when it came to the wellness industry. So going on Instagram or Googling things or getting advice from friends. And I just wanted there to be one place where I could go to where I could really understand and I could really trust as well. So that's why I created NOA. 84% of women in the UK unfortunately feel unheard by a healthcare professional. So we really wanted to create a platform where we were listening, and that is our best feedback that we have from our customers, that we are really listening to everybody. We join the dots. So I think, sometimes your health can be looked at in silos, but really what the incredible nutrition team do, what Megan does, is to look at everything. So that's your lifestyle, where you work, whether you have children, what your sleep's like, what supplements you're currently taking. If you have periods, what are they like? How long do they last for? What changes have you seen? So we really make our plans hyper personalized, and we do a blood test. So we have a very comprehensive blood test that we do. You don't have to choose which markers you should test. We've created the ultimate women's health blood test, and we test all the relevant markers. So we do a full thyroid read, a full iron panel. We will test your hormones. So if you are wondering whether you have hormone imbalance, or, is it iron? Do you have low iron? These are things that we can look into. And then the incredible team will match your blood test results with your questionnaire and your symptoms, and everything is presented to you in a really easy to understand way. And the team will advise on supplement recommendations, all of which Face the Future sell. We will go through a nutrition plan and a lifestyle plan as well. So basically you have everything that you need to know about your body and everything that you need to know to feel your best self, essentially. And we have recently partnered with Face the Future, with Paul and Julia, because there's such a natural affinity with what we both do. We are both experts when it comes to education, and that's a really key part for both of our brands. And we believe that healthy skin isn't achieved through skincare alone, but it's actually combining that professional skincare expertise with personalized nutrition, blood testing, and lifestyle support, so that you can actually understand why your skin behaves the way that it does, and you can build a routine that works around it, because it's so important that we're looking at that relationship, because one without the other just isn't going to deliver those results that you really want to have. So I'm going to hand over to Megan now to dive into the educational part of the webinar.
Yes, so gorgeous skin really is multifaceted, and I really wish it was as simple as there being one single product or a single supplement that can make your skin glow, it can make it clear and healthy for the rest of our lives. But in reality, it's much more complicated than that. And your skin can act as a bit of a red flag at times, a bit of a signal into something deeper going on, which I think can be really annoying, but it can also be really useful and really insightful as well. So hopefully this webinar demystifies a few things for you. So with every system in our body, when it comes to working on our health, we want to look at many different factors coming together all at once. And in many cases, these factors are also closely connected. So for this webinar, again, we'll be diving into the impact of hormones, nutrition, gut health, nutrients, sleep and stress, and how they all play a role together in maintaining healthy skin. And of course, Julia's then going to touch upon the topical side of things, and it all comes together perfectly. So first and foremost, we have hormones. We can look at the role that hormones play when it comes to our skin and our skin health. As women, our primary sex hormone that we produce is estrogen. And whilst it's not the only hormone that we make many hormones at different times across the day, at different times across our cycles, across our lifetimes. Estrogen is the one we think about typically when it comes to women, and it is one of the most dominant ones. It plays a really important role in our skin. So it helps to plump, it provides that glow that we talk about during ovulation and pregnancy. and it helps to maintain the strength of our skin barrier, which is super important. And when it starts to decline naturally around menopause, that's when we can really notice it in our skin. So until that point, however, estrogen fluctuates across our cycle and it is a bit of a dance alongside the rest of our hormones. When it comes to hormonal breakouts, we can see these at different points in our cycle, and again across our lifetimes. And actually, this can provide amazing insight into what is happening with our hormones. If they are out of balance, if we've got too much or too little of a certain thing, looking at our cycle can really help. So I'm going to do a really quick dive into our menstrual cycle, and I'm going to primarily focus on breakouts since that does tend to be the top concern today, but we can also talk about dryness and sensitivity as well. So we have the follicular phase first and foremost, which is day 1, so the first day of bleeding up until ovulation. Estrogen tends to be calmer at this point. It's not quite as erratic. It does rise as you get closer to estrogen, but throughout most of the as you get closer to ovulation, which is mid-cycle, it does tend to stay pretty kind of calm in the beginning, which is why we may see our skin feel calmer in the follicular phase. We're also, aside from skin, are most energized at this point, and most of us tend to feel our best. We then have ovulation, which happens mid-cycle, and we have a small surge in testosterone at this point. Testosterone fluctuates a little bit across our whole cycle, but it does tend to stay relatively even. And if it is going to peak, it's probably around ovulation. And this can increase sebum production. And some of us may notice an increase in breakouts at this point because of that testosterone increasing. We then have the final 2 weeks, which is called the luteal phase, and progesterone rises at this point, and that's because of ovulation. And with that, we can see an increase in oil production as well. Estrogen tends to drop towards the end, which then triggers menstruation. And because of that, we lose some of its lovely calming anti-inflammatory benefits on the skin. And then if we've got testosterone in the mix as well, again, we can see oil production. And that can become more notable in comparison as estrogen drops. We have other factors. Cortisol and blood sugar are a little bit more reactive in this phase, so that tends to worsen breakouts as well. And again, I really encourage people to note down symptoms and what's happening at different points in their cycle, what they notice. Come to your NOA consultation with that advice, with that kind of information, and we can then provide advice based on that. So next up, we have nutrients and the role of micronutrients when it comes to your skin. Micronutrients are vitamins, minerals. We have fatty acids, but we also have plant compounds like antioxidants, and they all play lots of different roles. With vitamin D, so we'll start with vitamin D, we have vitamin D receptors throughout the skin and in that outer barrier. So it's key for skin health, as it is with mood, mental well-being, and energy. But also research shows that vitamin D can help to regulate inflammation and support immune function, which then affects how resilient your skin is to dryness and irritation. We find that most people either take too much vitamin D or they don't take enough. So testing is a really amazing way to determine just how much your body needs, and then we can give you that exact dose to actually make a difference in those levels. We also have ferritin, which is how much iron you have in storage, and it's a really, really important marker to have when we're assessing your iron status. Low ferritin is one of the most common findings that we tend to see in blood results, and especially if you're menstruating, if you have heavy periods, if you're really active. And again, like most standard bloods tend to miss it. So having that information is really great. Some signs that you may see will include just dull, sometimes pale skin, but also we can see fatigue and hair loss as well. We always want to test before supplementing iron. Sometimes too much can be problematic, but equally too little can also be an issue. We have omega-3 fatty acids, a really big one when it comes to supporting skin barrier health and helping to reduce inflammation. The preference for me is always oily fish first. So mackerel, sardines, salmon in your diet a few times a week. But then we can also think about supplementation if necessary. We love Nordic Naturals, which of course are on Face the Future. They're an amazing brand. But then you can top up your levels with plant-based sources like walnuts, flax seeds, hemp hearts, chia seeds. I like to just recommend whatever meal you're having to add a few scoops of seeds on top, any seeds, or like a nut mix, just because then we can really boost those fatty acids, which your skin love. We have other micronutrients, again, some are on the screen. So folate, we'd be thinking about dark leafy greens, a really easy one to add to meals, a handful of rocket or watercress on the side. We also have beef liver, which not everyone loves, but is an amazing source of folate, but also B12 and vitamin A, which are two other key skin nutrients. Zinc, we're thinking pumpkin seeds and oysters, and then antioxidants, which help to protect your skin cells from damage. These include cacao powder, which is a really easy one to add to smoothies and yogurt bowls, having a cup of green tea, berries, pomegranate, all really great things to include as well. We then have gut health. And your skin and your gut are in this constant conversation. And there is a really amazing and continuously growing body of research that links imbalances in your gut bacteria with inflammatory skin patterns and conditions, including breakouts, including eczema, rosacea, and redness. There's a lot of noise out there, I will say, on supplements for your gut, cleanses that you can do all to optimize your gut health. The very best thing you can do and the most beneficial thing for your gut and therefore your skin is to be thinking about variety of different plants, different whole foods. So we're thinking non-starchy veggies, colorful veg, your peppers, courgettes, again, dark leafy greens, broccoli, different fruit, seeds again, whole grains, legumes, different herbs. The more color and the more variety, the better. That's what we're really aiming for. We can also include fermented foods which contain live bacteria, and they help to maintain that lovely diverse environment in your gut microbiome. So kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi. Again, if we're thinking about quick additions, most of us are really busy and it just needs to be something quick we can add to our plate. A couple of tablespoons of kimchi or sauerkraut, just we can quickly tick that box. And another basic when it comes to your gut and your skin is just ensuring that you're going to the toilet every single day. It's not sexy, but it's the way that our hormones and toxins that you take in from the world leave your body, and they leave the body in a healthy way, a healthy, regular way. And I said at the beginning, all these factors are related, and your hormones and your gut are really closely linked. I find that quite a big trigger for breakouts that we tend to see are in those that deal with constipation and sluggish bowel movements. So, really thinking about hydration. Chia seeds are great, kiwis before bed, they support sleep, but they also support bowel movements. Magnesium citrate is quite an easy thing to add in, but also eating enough food, full stop. Sometimes it's a sign that, you're not fueling your body sufficiently. But of course, enough fiber, and again, good variety within that fiber. And then once you have those foundations, then we want to layer in potentially a good probiotic supplement, and then maybe a prebiotic supplement to complement it as well. And then finally, we have stress and we have sleep. So I don't need to nag you on the importance of these two. We've all seen our skin after a few days of heightened stress or poor sleep. Sleep is when we're repairing, and this goes for every system and cell within our body. So we can't think about skin rejuvenation and repair and healing without getting adequate sleep. And there are studies that also show that poor sleep can have an impact on our metabolic health, which is a big trigger for breakouts. So if you're acne prone and you find that your skin maybe gets worse with sugar, refined carbohydrates, maybe if you have PCOS, if you're going through perimenopause, where we're thinking about insulin function and metabolic health, sleep must be a foundation for you. And then when it comes to stress, chronic stress has a knock-on effect on the rest of our hormones. Is the next slide our stress slide?
Past it. Other way, yes.
There we go. Amazing. Yeah, so chronic stress has a knock-on effect on our hormones and our gut health. So again, all of these systems are connected. And if you're not sleeping enough, that will increase that stress response as well. Stress can down-regulate your hormones. So if we want to be producing enough estrogen, we need to make sure our stress levels are lovely and balanced. And they can also up-regulate them as well. So if you're overproducing things like testosterone and that's causing issues with your skin, stress can do that as well. But stress can also increase inflammation, which we can see in our skin. And we know that life happens and most of us have, a level of stress always present, but it's about doing the small things every day, taking time out to breathe, setting boundaries with people, delegating tasks, anything you can do to kind of move and get 1% better every day is enough for us.
So Megan's just talked us through all the things that can happen inside the body and has also given us some really great tips on how we can optimize what we do internally. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it back to what we can do externally in terms of a routine that we can use every day. So for me, one of the biggest misconceptions that my customers talk to me about is that more products mean better skin. Well, in reality, the right products always outstrip using loads and loads of products. So what do I think a good routine looks like? And this is very general because as I've said, everyone's skin is different and therefore getting that personalized advice will ensure that you have the best skin possible. But if I was going to talk about a general routine, what would I be looking at? So I'd be actually looking at obviously cleansing skin, and by cleansing I would want to do that gently. So I know that Megan said earlier that one of the biggest concerns was blemishes and congestion, and people tend to try and over clean the face or scrub the face if they're suffering with a breakout. That is completely the wrong thing that we need to do. So, for me, you want to clean gently. We want to be removing any makeup that we have on, our SPF that we've been putting on, and any impurities without actually stripping the skin of its natural oil. So a real cleanse, but a gentle one. And for me, what that then does is it means it's actually protecting our skin barrier. So Megan mentioned earlier the skin barrier. For me, that's simply our skin's natural protection. It's the outermost part of the skin, so the outermost part of our epidermis, and it's the very top layer of your skin. And what it does is it does act as a natural protection. And when I first joined Face the Future and I know nothing about skin, I remember my head of clinic saying to me, think of your skin barrier as a brick wall. So what you have is the bricks are actually your skin cells, and the mortar that is between the bricks, that's all the lipids that are inside the body. And we have actually 3 main natural lipids that make up what we would call the mortar. So actually, when you are compromising your skin barrier, what happens is that mortar, the lipids, are actually crumbling and we're getting gaps in the skin barrier. So that means all of our moisture has been removed and it's letting all the impurities in. And that's why we then have the breakouts. We have sensitive skin, we have dry skin, etc., because the skin barrier itself is compromised. So gently clean your face. We're getting rid of all the impurities, but we're not stripping away the lipids, the natural oils that the body needs. What I would then say is, and I've said this secondly, is SPF. If I could only suggest or recommend one product for everybody, it would be to use an SPF. Now, of course, we'd use this at the end of the routine, but for me, it's the most important step in the routine. Applying it every single day, even on cloudy days, because actually, even on cloudy days, the UV is coming through, and actually, it's the biggest cause of skin cancer, and it's the biggest cause of aging skin. So if you're spending hundreds of pounds on other products, you're wasting your money if you're not protecting your skin by using an SPF for every day. So please do use that. Then the next thing that I've talked about is actually supporting your skin barrier. And actually, this is where that personalised advice and guidance comes in. Things like vitamin A, which you might know as a retinol, vitamin B, vitamin C, they're absolutely brilliant. But these active ingredients need to be introduced into a skin routine very carefully. And it actually has to be the right active for your skin. So if you want to try something like a vitamin C, I would say really just cleansing your skin, put your vitamin C on, and then put your SPF on, and allow your skin time to adjust and to see whether it works. And then if you want to introduce something else in, then you can, maybe introducing your vitamin A on an evening and seeing how your skin reacts to that. But really making sure you're only using a couple of active ingredients and it's suited to your skin needs, rather than just thinking the more I apply, the better my skin will be, because that isn't the case. And as I said, just get that personalised advice. You know, Megan's talked about the personalised advice that really helps the body have the best type of supplements and best support that it needs. That's the same for the skin. You can get independent advice really easily, either online, through a form, through actually speaking to an expert. And as I've said, it'll actually make sure that your skin is the best that it can be, because you'll be using the right products for you.
I can't tell you how many times I've tried multiple products at once, got overexcited, and I'm very acne prone, so my skin then goes crazy. And you're so right. I think it's exciting to have new stuff, but yeah, just one at a time can make all the difference. And the same goes with supplements, as well. I think we tend to find that we start many different things at once, and then you're not quite sure what is working or if something doesn't agree with you. So yeah, I agree on that one. One at a time is key.
And also, Megan, giving it time, because sometimes you try something and because it's new to your skin, or depending on where you are in your cycle or the other external factors, your skin will purge. And therefore people stop using the product, but actually it's not the product that's causing the purging, it's something else. So again, sticking with the product, unless of course it's causing major irritation, then we shouldn't be doing that. But again, that's where you pick up the phone again, you speak to somebody, and we'll do Zooms or we'll do Teams calls, and we'll actually be able to look at the skin and say that's completely natural. If you're starting to use a retinol for the first time, your skin is going to shed, that's completely normal. But actually if it's red raw, that's not normal, and that's where you need to get that personalized support.
Yeah, understanding what is normal, but maybe not. And then, yeah, I think time and consistency, yeah, it of course applies to nutrition and diet changes as well. A lot of these things don't happen overnight. It is the consistency and not always trying to be perfect with things, but just trying to be consistent. Yeah, I mean, our foundations are, again, a varied, a diet that has lots of lovely color and variety is key. That looks a little bit different for everyone, but yeah, when you find what works, stick with it and make sure that we are focusing on proteins and healthy fats and fiber, and those lovely low GI carbs across all your meals. Your sleep and your stress are just as important as your nutrition. We want to be making sure that we are putting them both at the top of our priority list. And yeah, I think testing, of course I'm biased, but I think it can be one of the most beneficial places to spend your money, because then you're not guessing when it comes to your supplements and your foods, as well. We can get really, really specific and personalized with that nutrition support.
And I can vouch for that because I have gone through the NOA program, and actually Megan really did listen to me and made things really simple. So I didn't have to change what I was doing. I just had to add things in. So if you're busy and you think, oh, I can't change anything, it takes 30 seconds to introduce some of the things that Megan suggested to me. So it's certainly worth having the test and then implementing the small changes that make a massive difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And Katie mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but our panel looks at a number of the factors that I mentioned. So we're thinking about iron, B12, folate, vitamin D. I believe on the next slide we have a list, or we have what's included. There we are. So we've got, yeah, your nutrients are on there. We also look at full thyroid function. I didn't touch on this, but your thyroid can also have an impact on your skin and your other hormones as well. We look at blood sugar, we look at all of your sex hormones at the right point in your cycle, but we also look at symptoms, and we have a really in-depth questionnaire which you would fill out at the start, because we really think that symptoms can be just as insightful as blood test results. And all of our nutritionists are experts in analysing blood test results. We can recommend the right dosages of certain supplements and in the right forms as well. And yeah, like you said, the benefit of working so closely with a practitioner means we're not just going to give you generic advice that you will find on ChatGPT or TikTok. We know your numbers, we know your likes, your dislikes, and your health history. So the recommendations we give are super personalized to you based on your data, but yeah, based on what is easy and what is doable within your life as well. So they're much more likely to work, we think.
And you don't have the disclaimer like chat has that they can get things wrong.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we double check everything.
So it's really this complete approach to skincare, which I think that Julia and Megan have done an amazing job in taking you through this evening. And I think you can't do one without the other. So really, when you have the right insights, so as Megan just referred to, really understanding your body, and we do that through blood testing, so we can see what might be slightly out of range and what we can do to be able to bring that up and bring that in line with our optimal ranges that we look at NOA, and then really getting that nutrition right, because you can't out supplement a bad diet, as they say. So it's really about kind of looking at that full picture in terms of your nutrition, your lifestyle, your sleep, your stress. It's really difficult, we appreciate that, and everything at NOA is simple and easy to implement. And that's we recognize that everybody has chaotic lives. They don't have time for crazy wellness routines that are just not sustainable and unachievable. So we really kind of take all of that into account. So really combining your insight, and what's going on your inside, with your right skincare routine. So that's the professional skincare that's then chosen to match what your skin actually needs. That is just really the ultimate combination, giving you a real 5-star service when it comes to understanding what your skin needs, so that you can really shop with confidence, because oh, this is hormonal, this relates to my cycle, I have the understanding now, or I know this certain thing might trigger it. So it's really empowering, so that when you do go shop skincare and also supplements, you know exactly what your body needs. So it's really about, understanding your skin, understanding what's affecting it, and then choosing the right products and building a routine that works and that sticks as well.
Yeah, I think for me as well, sorry, Katie, it's about understanding your body and what you need now, but it's also about giving you the knowledge and confidence to make sure that you're supporting yourself in the years to come. So it's about longevity as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And on both fronts there as well. We've just put together, we wanted to give you some actionable takeaways. So from the skin point of view, as Julia mentioned before, it's all about SPF, which is the most important thing you can do in your routine. And then serums as well is where the magic happens. And if Julia, do you want to add anything?
onto
Yeah, I mean, I think, serums do make a huge amount of difference to how your skin looks externally. And by serums, I mean the vitamins, again, the vitamin A, the vitamin B, it's the actives, those types of things. So they really do make a difference, but it has to be the right ones for yourself. So wear your SPF every day, get the right vitamin into your skin, and you will really see a big difference. And even more so when it's coupled with the things that Kate is just going to talk about as well, in terms of looking at it from the inside as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm doing this on Mega's behalf, but really leading with protein. We all know how important the protein is and how it supports our skin and our collagen, and then including healthy fats, which keep your skin hydrated, supple and glowing as well. So nuts, avocados, things like that. Megan, do you have anything to add on top of that?
Well, I have just seen a question which I think ties quite nicely into this now about retinol being too strong for overly sensitive skin and whether we can do this through food instead. And absolutely, we can. There are two different types of vitamin A found in food. You have beta carotene, which is pre-vitamin A, so it's the step before vitamin A. And then you have retinol, which is vitamin A in its full form. So including both can be beneficial. Some people aren't very good at taking that beta carotene and converting it into vitamin A. So that's why including both is a good idea. Beta carotene would be your orange fruits and veggies, butternut squash, sweet potato, carrots, oranges. And then the full retinol would be, again, liver is arguably one of the best sources. Cod liver oil, you know, good quality beef, a little bit in eggs, a little bit in fish as well. So if we're thinking about vitamin A via food, I would be thinking about those two sources. And yes, to recap, we always want to think about protein for blood sugar balance, healthy fats, and then lots of lovely fiber to help us clear, like I said, get those bowel movements going and clear our hormones from our system.
Thank you.
And also in terms of skin, there's different types. So there's not just a retinol, there's retinoids and there's more natural alternatives as well, and in different strengths. So sometimes it's about, finding the right vitamin A for your skin rather than trying one and thinking that doesn't work for me.
Thank you, Julia. So we've got a couple of minutes left for questions. So I think we'll just go into them now. So we've had another question. How do I learn which serum is right for my skin?
Okay, that's where the expert advice comes in, because what we need to know is, have you got sensitive skin? Have you got dry skin? How old are you? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And that will then help us identify what's the right serum for you. So generally, if you are looking to hydrate your skin, you want something that contains a hyaluronic acid. If an issue is pigmentation, you're looking at something for a vitamin C. And if your concern is aging, then you're looking at something with a vitamin A in it. But actually, products have evolved so much now, and you can always get one or two products that contain all of the ingredients that you need. So, yeah, speak to one of the experts, and you can often do it free of charge. If you're filling in a consultation form or you're having a virtual consultation, often you can do it free of charge across a number of different platforms, or they charge you for the consultation, but then you get the money back to be able to spend on products. So the consultation itself is free, and that's why I would recommend you do that.
Thank you. So we've had another question. Sorry, we've had a few. So which blood tests are actually supported by good evidence for investigating skin concerns? And do you just ask about or take into consideration our current skin type during a consultation?
Yeah, so in terms of evidence-based blood markers, like we said, vitamin D is going to be a big one, as is that full iron panel. I'm sex hormones, but in context. So whilst you may not find, one study on estrogen and breakouts, for example, we test estrogen, testosterone, and a protein called sex hormone binding globulin. And what's lovely about that protein is it can give you more insight into what those two hormones are doing in the body. So essentially, you may have normal testosterone, but low sex hormone binding globulin, which means that you're not very good at binding up your testosterone, and therefore you've got more free in the body. And that is shown in the research as well. So yes, the main markers that I would be thinking about in the research would be your vitamin D, your full iron panel, estrogen, testosterone, and your SHBG. We also test HbA1c, which is a blood sugar marker across the last 3 months. And there is really good research on blood sugar levels and inflammation, and therefore inflammatory skin conditions. And we do absolutely take into consideration skin type during consultations. If you have no significant skin conditions, so let's say you don't really deal with breakouts or acne, eczema, rosacea, we will touch on it, but it may not be the main conversation that we have. But of course, if you find that your skin is just so dry and you just can't get it to budge, we'll factor that into the foods that we recommend and potentially supplementation as well. So yeah, we do consider it. But there are so many symptoms that we try and address and use as information during those consultations. If it's important to you, put it at the top of that list so we can really dive into it.
And the same goes for the skin consultation. We would ask you what your skin concerns are, what your skin type is, but we also either ask to have a video call with you so we can see your skin for ourselves, or we ask for photographs. Because sometimes, actually, if you're not an expert in skin, you might think you've got a particular skin concern. And, it might be that you say that you've got congestion or you've got rosacea or pigmentation. But once one of the skin experts sees your skin, it's not what you think it is. So, of course, we'd have a look at that as well. And then again, we can recommend products to help and also to meet what your objectives are. As I say, if your objective is to remove pigmentation, then we can work with you on that. If the objective is to target fine lines and wrinkles, we can work with you to address that as well.
Thank you, Julia. We've had another skincare question. How do I learn which serum is right for my skin?
Oh, I thought we just answered that one, I think.
Oh, did we do that one? Oh, right, sorry.
So, okay. As I say, it's really, you'd need to speak to an expert because we do need to have a look at your skin. We do need to understand what your concerns are, and then we can talk to you about what the benefits of each individual serum is, whether it's one with a couple of ingredients in it, or whether it's a pure vitamin C, a pure vitamin A, a pure vitamin B, whatever it might be. But it's really about what your skin needs and what your outcomes are, what you want the outcomes to be.
Thank you. And just one last question, Megan, it said, you mentioned a few times the importance of ferritin. Is there an optimal ferritin level for healthy hair rather than just a normal lab range?
Yeah, how much time do we have? Because I could talk about this all night long. Yes, 100%. I can't tell you how many women we have seen who are struggling with hair loss or just can't get their hair to grow as thick and kind of luscious as they would like. And you'll go to your GP or, your healthcare provider. And for example, the kind of the floor of NHS or even some private labs, the reference range will be around 15. They've now pushed it to 30, which is way too low to feel energized, vibrant, but way too low to support healthy hair. So, and absolutely ferritin is one of the markers that we will always look at if there is hair loss or if you, again, aren't happy with your hair. For me, again, we're super picky at NOA. We don't just want it to be normal, we want it to be optimal. So it really sits around probably 70 to 100, even slightly beyond 100 for healthy hair. So if you've kind of been sitting around 30 for however long, that can feel like quite a jump. But yeah, we find that it's a really important jump to make. We also do want to consider the rest of your iron markers. So sometimes we find that women have great serum iron, great binding proteins, everything is doing what it should be doing, but they're just not very good at absorbing and then putting that iron into storage. And sometimes that can be about bringing in other cofactors, other nutrients. But yeah, ideally someone is looking at those bloods and giving you that advice.
Thank you, Megan. If there are any more questions, we could probably take a couple more. You can put them in the chat. If there's anything that you'd like to discuss separately and not on the webinar, we've got some different options for you. So we can send this to you as well in case anybody forgets and needs a link. But at NOA, we offer a complimentary 15-minute consultation. So you can speak to one of our NOA nutritionists so that you can come with sort of what's going on inside your body, some key things that you might be struggling with, and then it gives you the chance to understand how we might be able to help you as well, and a bit more about NOA and how it works. And then you can book a skincare consultation with Face the Future, so you can speak to one of the Face the Future skin experts about your skin concerns and get those expert tailored product and routine recommendations. So you can just book it through the link here if you scan the QR code for all of these. And then lastly, Megan and Julia are continuing this conversation on an amazing podcast, which we filmed recently, and they talk about everything that we've spoken about today, but obviously just in a lot more detail, so hormones, health, and everything in between. So hopefully they are good resources for you, and we hope everyone has enjoyed the session this evening as well, and has got something out of it as well. And that's the end of the session.
No more questions. Brilliant. Well, thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.